So today, first of all, my apologies. Normally, if I come to give a shir for somebody, I like to give copies of what we're going to be learning. But I was called just an hour or two ago, so I didn't have time to prepare that. And in general, I didn't have so much time to prepare. But Baruch Hashem, I had something which I prepared a while ago, which I'd looked into a while ago. It's Chazar. So the subject of today's shir, I want to cover the topic give an overview of the topic of Bikur Cholim, the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim, visiting the ill person. And the question I'd like to start off with as a means of introduction is, we all know the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim is someone is ill, there's a mitzvah to go visit him. Seems how many halachas could there already be regarding the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim? But there's quite a few halachas. There's Gemaras which discuss the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim, and there's halachas regarding the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim as well, which we'll try and cover as many as we can. But specifically, I want to focus on the question which was asked to Hoiskim of today's generation once the telephone came around, and now you could ask the same question with regards to video chat, Skype, and the like. Whether one's Yotze, the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim, can one perform the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim just by, or how much of the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim can one perform through calling somebody who's not well, or through... Right, you could ask the same question about me, Menachem Aval. But here today we're going to be talking about Bikur Cholim through visiting, through calling the person, through video conferencing with him. So that's the question which was asked to the Pleitzkim of today, and we'll go through going through a little bit, through seeing a little bit what the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim involves. We'll see how much of the mitzvah you can do and how much of the mitzvah you can't do. We have to first see what are the components of the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim. What does mitzvah Bikur Cholim consist of? So first of all, we say every morning when we start just after Birkas HaTorah. So we learn it's a Mishnah in Peah, but then it's also a Brisa somewhere else. So there's a different. So it's really a Mishnah in Peah, which is then quoted in the Gemara in Shabbos. It's a bit longer. We say every morning, Eilu Devarim She'einam Shir. These are the things which have no measure. HaPeah, VaBikurim, VaRoyim, Gemilas Chasadim, V'Salmot Torah. And including Gemilas Chasadim, and later, including Gemilas Chasadim is also the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim. And in fact, the Gemara says clearly, Tanya Bikur Cholim Ein Shir. The mitzvah of Bikur Cholim doesn't have any measure, which means that even if you visit somebody once, you can still go another time to visit him later in the day. It's not like, I have an ill friend, I'm going to go visit him once. Bikur Cholim Ein Shir means that you can go visit him many times a day.
And every time you
mekayim a mitzvah. Yeah. So it's and in the Mishnah it goes further. The Mishnah carries on. It says, "Midvarim she'oicha perusein ba'olam hazeh v'karen kayamis la'olam haba." There's some mitzvahs which you get the schar primarily in olam haba. All mitzvahs, the main schar really is in olam haba. But there's other mitzvahs which are generally the mitzvahs bein adam lachaveiro, the mitzvahs which are between a person and his friend, that we can also reap the benefits in this world as well. And Bikur Cholim is one of the things we mentioned clearly in this Mishnah that we say in the morning. These are the things the person eats the fruits in this world. The principle, the main schar, stays la'olam haba. This also means that the schar that we have down here doesn't take away. Often, if you have schar down here, it takes away from the schar which you get.
It's a bonus here.
Right. In other cases, we know even that it says in certain Mefarshim that the reason why sometimes we see the Rishoyim have a good life down here is because Hashem doesn't want to punish them in the Olam Haba, so He gives them a reward down here for the mitzvahs that they did, and then it takes away from the schar Olam Haba. But here, these mitzvahs, Kibbud Avayim, Gemilas Chasadim, getting up early to learn Hachnasis Orchim, and the one that we're going to discuss today, Bikur Cholim, is from those mitzvahs that we can reap the benefit. We get schar down here in this world. That Karen Kayamis La'olam Haba, yet the Karen, the principle, the main schar is still Kayamis La'olam Haba, remains La'olam Haba. Anyway, so the mitzvah Bikur Cholim is a very great mitzvah, and it's included in the pasuk, which it says in the pasuk, somewhere in Sefer Devarim, Achrei Hashem Elokeichem Telechu. Could have even been in last week's Sedra. I think it might have even been last week's Sedra, Parashas Eikev. After Hashem you should go. You should follow Hashem. the Gemara asks, is it possible for a person to go after the Shekhinah, to connect with the Shekhinah, to go after the Shekhinah? What does it mean going after the Shekhinah? Rather, it means to copy the midas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Like you went to Avraham Avinu, so you have to follow.
Exactly. And in the Gemara over here, right, in the Gemara in Soita, the Gemara says, Ma HaKadosh Baruch Hu Bika Cholim. It goes through a bunch of different things. Mahu Malbish Harumim, just like Hashem gave clothes to those who needed clothes by Adam and Chava, exactly. So to you also, and what's relevant today, Ma HaKadosh Baruch Hu Bika Cholim, just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu visited the sick. The Ksiv, Ayirei Lo Hashem B'Elonim Mamrei. It says that Hashem revealed himself to Avraham Avinu after the bris, and it was on the third day after the bris when he was in a lot of pain. So too, we learn from Hashem, Af Ata Tavaka Cholim, we should also visit the old people. Okay, so that's the source of this is the source of the pasuk. And the mitzvah Bikur Cholim comes.
According to that, when it's very, very hot, it's the biggest mitzvah to be Bikur Cholim. Like Avraham Avinu, Kechom Hayom was very, very hot, and Hashem went to visit him. So it's the biggest, highest mitzvah.
Why? Maybe because there's no one else to visit, right? You'll soon see that one of them.
Yeah, Hashem made the heat, make it very hot. You want him to stay in, but he's still.
No, somebody is sick and he has 10 people come visit them every day. So if you come or don't come, it's the same thing.
Right.
Somebody you don't have people to come visit them and you go visit them, the mitzvah is the same.
Yeah.
Okay,
But still, Elen Shio. Doesn't make a difference. If 10 people came and you came, or you came alone. Elen Shio.
The interesting thing is that we see that when the pasuk that we learn out the mitzvah says Telechu, that you should go. So we see from here that there's a concept that when it comes to Bikur Cholim, it's important to go to the Cholim. It's not good enough just there's the Indian not just to find out about the Cholim, to wish him well.
We could WhatsApp him.
Oh, so that's how I started off. You and here. I started the show off by saying that today we'll discuss the concept of Bikur Cholim, but the way we'll do it is by introducing the question of whether you can be Yotze the mitzvah Bikur Cholim by the telephone, and that was many years ago. You could ask about the telephone by a video conference, etc. So through going through what the mitzvah Bikur Cholim and seeing what it consists of, we can see whether you can totally fulfill the mitzvah through these other means, or you actually have to go.
Yeah, but you know that in the top of the head of the Choler, the Shekhinah. If you watch
let's we're going to go through it all. We're going to go through it all.
Yeah.
I don't want you to take away my share.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, so the pasuk says Ach Hashem Elokeichem Telechu. So the pasuk which talks about Bikur Cholim talks about going, because there's a concept of going. What's the concept of going? What's that? Why is there dafkin in of going? So when you go to a Choler, there's a Gemara in the Darim. The Gemara in the Darim on Daf Mem on the base, I think. Gemara in the Darim, Daf Mem on the base. So the Gemara in the Darim there discusses Bikur Cholim at length. One of the things over here is as follows. There was a story with one of the Talmidim of Rabbi Kiva. Shechala, he was ill, became ill. For some reason, Mefarshim discussed why, I can't remember exactly why, but the other Chachamim didn't come to visit him, but Rabbi Kiva did come to visit him. Because Rabbi Kiva came in front and visited, so they cleaned and they swept in front of him. In other words, they took care of the ill person, and as a result of this chaya, he survived. Amalei, so the Talmud turned over to his Rabbi, Rabbi Hachi Yitzon. Rabbi, you have kept me alive. Right? So Yotze Rabbi Kiva v'Dorash. Rabbi Kiva went out and he was Dorash. Kol mi she'ein mevakeh choyle keilu shofar dam. Anyone who doesn't visit the sick person is as if, such as Chomer thinks, as if he's killing him. What does it mean, as if he's killing him? It means because since by going to him, you could sometimes make sure, you could go and you could see what's, you could help him out, you could help him, and you could see what's needed by him. So if you don't, it's as if it could sometimes be equivalent to killing him. That's the lashon of the Gemara. So that's what we say over here. The one essential component, one main thing of Bikur Cholim is to go, and when you go and you visit him, you see what he needs. Pasha Begashmius, you can see you can see you visit someone in his house and you see he tells you that he needs hot water, he needs something, hot soup, whatever it may be. Someone's got a flu, you get him pills, you go to the pharmacy for him, he might not have anyone else to help him. That is the number one mitzvah Bikur Cholim. That's the number one element of Bikur
You go to
Cholim.
the cleaner for him.
Whatever it
Some
is.
dry cleaning.
Yeah, well,
He has a store. That's why I say that.
right. It's unlikely to make him feel so much better. So that's the number one component of Bikur Cholim is to go there and to, like in the story of Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva went to visit him, and because they swept, the Mefarshim explained that the air around him wasn't good, and that was what was keeping him ill or wasn't good for his health. And Rabbi Kiva saw that the room of the Choyle was dirty, and that was what was causing him to feel no good. So therefore he commanded that they sweep and they wash the floor, and because they swept and washed the floor, therefore he got improved, and that's the story of the Rabbi Kiva. And from this story the halacha is brought down. It's brought down the halacha that one of the main things of
Bikur Cholim is
Bikur Cholim is asiyas rachav. It's to make sure to see what he needs and to take care of his needs. Now, that could be, if that was the only thing of Bikur Cholim, one could come to a conclusion that if an ill person is in a hospital with the best doctors, and in a good hospital, let's say. So first of all, a lot of times, even when a choyle, this is just practical, a lot of times even when a choyle is in a hospital, if someone's standing on top of the nurses, or if they know that someone's going to come visit and ask what's,
Right.
they'll take more care of it.
Do more, yeah.
Yeah, we know that. But even let's say, for argument's sake, the ill person is in the top care, the best hospital, the best doctors, the best nurses, everything's being taken care of. Still, so if this was the only thing of Bikur Cholim, then maybe there'll be no mitzvah Bikur Cholim. But this is not the only component of Bikur Cholim. What else? So the Gemara. So we'll say there's a Gemara. There's a Gemara in the Dorim which says that Cholim mevakes achoyle noitel echol misamach b'chol. So anyone who visits a ill person, he takes away a 60th of his illness. Now, there's different pshatim what that means. Some say that means that he actually takes a 60th of the illness himself. According to the Gemara in the Dorim, that's what it sounds like. The Gemara says in the Dorim, Tanya, Bikur Cholim ein shir. Bikur Cholim doesn't have a measure. So the Gemara asks, my ein shir, what do you mean Bikur Cholim has no measure? Savar Rabbi Yosef lemeimar ein shir lematan schar. Rabbi Yosef thought it meant that there's no shir to the reward. The reward is immeasurable, cannot be measured. So that was what the Havamina was. That's what the Gemara thought. Abaye turned to him and said, "V'chol mitzvahs mi ashir lematan schar." And when it comes to other mitzvahs, is there a shir to how much reward there is? V'atanan, we learned in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, which we know, have izar b'mitzvah kala k'v'chamora. Be careful with even a small mitzvah, just like a big mitzvah, a light mitzvah, just like a harsh mitzvah. She'einat yedei matan schar shal mitzvah, because you don't know the reward, which means to say, how can you say that this one's immeasurable and other mitzvahs rewards are measurable? We know that we don't really. There's a Mishnah which says you have to be careful with every mitzvah just as much as the other, because you don't know how much the reward is. So therefore the Gemara pushes away, the Gemara rejects that pirush, that when the Brisa says Bikur Cholim ein shir, it means that there's no shir to the amount of the reward. Elam Abaya, so there's Elam Abaya afilu gadol eitzel katan, Rava Amar afilu mea pa'amim b'yoyim. I'm reading the wrong Gemara. This is not the Gemara which is relevant. It's the next piece. Okay, I thought it was this piece. Okay, we'll learn this anyway. Elam Abaya afilu gadol eitzel katan means even if it's a gadol, someone who's more chashuv, someone who's a respectable person, and he's going to visit someone who's not respected, he's still chayav. The person might think that Bikur Cholim is only for someone who it's respect. It doesn't take away from his cover. There's other mitzvahs in the Torah which, if it's not the fichvoida, like Hashavas Aveda, there's a halacha about Hashavas Aveda that Veisalam Tameim. The Gemara learns from the words Veisalam Tameim of the pasuk that sometimes you don't need to return a lost object. When don't you need to return a lost object? When it's a zokein ve'ena lefichvoida. One of the examples is a kohen if a kohen and the lost objects in the Beis HaKvaris. But the other example, which is a bigger chiddush, it's a big chiddush, is that a zokein, someone who's a respectable person or older person, ve'ena lefichvoida, it's not a kovadik. It's not, what's the word? It's not proper for him to return it. So then he doesn't have to. The Gemara is saying over here, the Bikur Cholim ain't lo shia.
But
I feel a
it's
God relates a cut, even a chashuva person has to go and visit some young or some person who's not chashuv.
Zaken can send shaliach. If he finds something, and it's not with nekvodo, he can send someone to.
Okay, but yeah, let's
No,
say
I'm
there
just
isn't.
curious. It's,
He's allowed to anyway. He can do it himself if he wants to. The point is, he's
if he
potter.
doesn't- Okay, he doesn't. He
He's
doesn't
potter.
want-
He doesn't have to.
But he can send someone in shaliach.
He could do it himself. Of course, he could send the shliach. Yeah. Point is that he doesn't have to. And by Bikur Cholim, we're saying that no. If you're a God of the Eitz and even a great, but Rava Amaf, you know, may apartment. But Yom Rava says that Ein Shia means what I said earlier, that even 100 times in a day. And then the Gemara continues. Amr Rav Acha bar Chanina, Kol HaMevakeh Choyle, Noitel Echon Mishishim B'Tzarim. Anyone who visits an ill person takes away a 60th of his pain.
Once out the questions. So somebody is sick.
Yeah,
Bring 60 people.
that's in the Gemara that straight away. Amalei, Imkain, Lailon, Shittin, V'loigma, to bring 60 people and take it out. So the Gemara answers twofold answer. Amalei Kisuraisa the Rabbi V'Vengina. Number one, it doesn't really work that way because every person takes a 60th of what remains. So eventually, you need much more than 60 people. And number two, the Gemara says that even if you bring lots of people in, so eventually you would basically get in better, at least close. Over Ben Giloi, the Gemara says, over here, the Gemara in the Dorim says it's only talking about a Ben Giloi. The person who takes away 60 of the illness is only a Ben Giloi. Now, what does a Ben Giloi mean? Rashi explains that Ben Giloi means a Bachu Kamoisoi or a Zaken. There has to be somebody who's a similar age, or in Rashi in a different Masech, he says it's someone who's born in the same mazel. He's born mamish on the same day, so it's a very rare case. It's only somebody who's born the same time, he's the same age, or he's born the same day. Only he takes away the.
Even at this, let's say you know somebody that's very sick. Say, okay, let me make an announcement. Whoever born in this date is the same age as this guy. Whoever come, please, and take one.
How many people are you going to find?
I'm saying, let's say you could. It's still not gonna work.
Because it's only 60th.
No.
Huh?
Because the Gemara says you have to be a chaver, one of your friends, and you don't have a chaver to take one of your sickness.
So there's different shots. There's different shots. Rashi and the Ran and others say it's someone who's the same age or someone who's born the same mazel. The Meiri writes that the Ben Giloi means. I'm reading over here from another sefer. 1 second. Meiri says that Ben Giloi means that if the person visiting him is a good friend, that he has hana from him, he's pleasurable when he comes to him, that takes away his illness. Why did I bring this
like
Gemara?
that you can find. That's the problem.
Or you can find very few of them.
They're willing to take away his sickness and put it in himself. We can't find a friend like that.
That's what he said, yeah. Okay. The Meiri, yeah, I hear what he said.
That's what they have.
Right. So the Meiri is saying, the Meiri that I'm quoting, I don't know if he's saying exactly the same thing as him. He's just saying that it's like a psychological thing. When a good friend of somebody comes to help him, comes to visit you, it makes you feel better already. That's what makes you feel better. So this is the number 2 element of Bikur Cholim. Why did I bring it? Because let's say we mentioned earlier that talking about Bikur Cholim. So the first component of Bikur Cholim is that you have to go visit an ill person and see what he needs. Now, so for argument's sake, if somebody was in a hospital and he was being taken good care of, so there's nothing you can do. So then there's no mitzvah Bikur Cholim. So that's why we say that's why I brought now. There's another concept of Bikur Cholim that when you go and visit a sick person, that makes him feel better. Takes away 60th of his illness. And according to the Meiri, it's talking about when it's a good friend. It makes him feel better.
They become a good friend.
Now, what's this business of the Gil? Being born on the same day?
So that's like a more spiritual. That's a
mazel.
mazel. That's based on some sort of more spiritual, kind of metaphysical type of thing.
Huh?
There's a lot of Rabbonim that we saw. They have queues every day from this time to this time. They go to different hospitals.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Chief Rabbi feels every day.
Why?
Because for this mitzvah.
Just so mitzvah, you can do any mitzvah.
If somebody is sick in the hospital, and Chief Rabbi Faisal came into his bed, hi, how are you? What's your name? What happened to you? What can I help you? That's itself already give him hi. Chief Rabbi
Elevate
came to
him.
me,
Elevate
give him
him.
elevator.
Yeah, today in school in yeshivas, I teach the kids to go be in Bikur Cholim.
That's one of the...
All my kids used to love. Oh, I went to the nursery home and did it. Huh?
Rabbi Lau said that one of the visiting,
You go, yeah?
yeah, one of the visiting, he met a guy that was detained in concentration camp as a kid. Both of them as a kid was in the same place.
Wow.
He called him, he said the doctor said, doctor this and this, come to this and this. He went to him, he says, I'm Rabbi Lau. You remember me from this? He's like, oh my God. And give him a life. You know, he like,
Wow,
just
that's a
before he
big
got
life.
just before he went to operation for his heart. They didn't see each other 50 years.
You never know what
He
you
was
do
on
when
the
you're
front.
Bikur Cholim.
You should. Anyway, continue.
So when we talk about Bikur Cholim, there's that idea of someone being the same age or the similar age. That's called a Ben Gilu, takes away his illness. But according to the Meiri, Ben Gilu means a good friend. So when someone's good friend is ill, so that besides the fact that you do Bikur Cholim to make sure that he has everything he needs, even if he has everything he needs, the second component of Bikur Cholim is that just being there just visiting him and the person sees his good friend, it makes him feel better already. It's something which is very understandable begashmis, and you don't really need a Gemara to tell you this, right? If someone's good friend comes and speaks to him, it makes him feel better already. The Rambam actually writes, Bikur Cholim Mitzvah la Koil, and Peg Yudalet from the laws of Avelos Halacha Dalet. Bikur Cholim Mitzvah la Koil. Bikur Cholim is a mitzvah for everybody to do. Vafilu Gadol Mevakas Hakatan. Even some, which is the Gemara we saw a second ago. Even some great chief rabbi of Israel visiting some young person. It's also a mitzvah for him to do that. That's what it means when it says Bikur Cholim Ein Al Shir, according to one Pshat in the Gemara. Vafilu Harapam B'Yom. You don't just say, oh, I visited him once, that's it, enough. No, every single time you visit somebody, it's another mitzvah. The Rambam writes, the more you do, the better. Obviously, not always. Sometimes you're going to cause him, it's going to be a bother for him. So you have to use your common sense. And the Rambam carries on and writes that anyone who visits a sick person, it's as if he takes away a portion of his illness and makes him better. Here in the Rambam we see that he doesn't make the same condition as the Gemara. The Gemara says it's only a Ben Giloi, either means someone who's the same age or a good friend. He just says anybody.
Anyone.
And so everyone asks on the Rambam, where does he get this from? Basically, one of the answers given is that besides for the Gemara, there's actually a Medrash in Medrash Rabbah, which over there it says over there, anyone who visits a sick person takes away a 60th of his illness. And the Medrash asks the same question. If so, send 60 people to visit him and you'll be better. So he says two things over there. One thing it says is Shishim will Vilvachi Oivim Oisik Nafsham Nadim He says it has to be 60, but it has to love them, really love them. This is what you were saying. And
That's the one, yeah.
Either you can't find it, but even if you can find it, it's very rare. But then the Medrash carries on, Va'afal Pikein Marvichin Loi. Even so, Marvichin Loi helps. And the way people explain the Rambam, Mefarshim explain the Rambam, is that the Rambam understands this Medrash to be saying like this: in order to take a 60th of the illness away, you need a Ben Gila, which according to the Medrash and the Meiri means a good friend. But even if you don't find such a good friend, any person who visits does take away the illness a little bit. The Afal became Marvichin. Actually, according to this, the Rambam is very understood because the Rambam is different than the Gemara in two ways. The Gemara says that anyone who visits a sick person takes away a 60th of his illness. The Rambam doesn't mention a 60th. And number two, the Gemara says it's only talking about Ben Gila, and he doesn't mention that either. The Rambam misses out both. Why? Because he's not talking about the fact that a Ben Gila is someone who's a good friend or someone who's born the same time takes away a 60th of the illness. He's talking about the fact that any single person takes away the illness. How much? No, not as much, not a 60th. A little bit. Makes it a little bit easier, and it's based on this Medrash which says that became Marvichin, and the Rambam's trying to emphasize, make the mitzvah broader. Any single person who visits another ill person, he can make him feel somewhat better. Okay. So that is number two. That's the number two. The second inyan in Bikur Cholim. First inyan is making sure that he has what he needs. Even if he does have what he needs, even if he does have what he needs, there's the concept of making just a visit. Just with him, you spend time together, it makes him feel better. Either he's a similar age or he's a good friend. But then we said from the Rambam that even if he's not a good friend, he also takes away the illness based on the Medrash, which says that even if it's not a Ben Gila, even if it's not a good friend, it still takes away somewhat of his illness, some part of his illness. Okay, that's number two. Number three is as follows. There's a Gemara which says in the Dorim, very interesting Gemara. The Gemara says as follows. After the Gemara says this story with Rabbi Kiva, which you mentioned earlier, about Rabbi Akiva visiting his Talmud, and he saw that the place was dirty, and he instructed the people there to clean it up, and the Talmud became better. So the Gemara continues by saying, Ki Asr Rav Dimi says, anyone who visits a sick person causes him to live. If he doesn't visit, he causes him to die.
I think the rabbi did not go visit this sick guy, only Rabbi Akiva, because maybe they knew it's a dirty place, not clean, smell or something. So maybe that's the reason. Rabbi Akiva came and he saw the situation and he told them to clean it. Maybe, I don't know, because they don't tell you their why.
Well,
Right.
they knew the mitzvah of Cholim.
But it's true, they didn't go visit him. Only Rabbi Akiva.
But the Gemara doesn't say why.
No.
Why? Why the Gemara didn't say why? It's a question. So you have to think why.
Yeah, but your answer, I don't know.
I don't know.
But why would
Just thinking.
he's saying that why would that that's not good enough reason. The Chachamim for sure would do the mitzvah Bikur Cholim.
Why
Just-
24,000 Talmidim hate each other and it got chaos?
So there's the
it's
explanation.
a
Good explanation.
explanation.
Good
Hate.
They didn't
They
show
love each
respect.
other
But
in such a way, in a wrong way.
okay, but it's a problem. What's the problem there?
So maybe they were busy davening for the sick guy, and
Let me see if he says
It's
no.
not enough. It's not enough for
You
that.
have to
You
go
have to go.
actually visit him. And
Say
see what
HaKadosh
he
Baruch Hu, lalechet. You have to walk. You have to
needs.
go.
See, actually, see what he needs.
Okay, let's carry on. The Gemara says like this: that someone who visits a sick person causes him to live, and someone who doesn't is causing him to die. So what a funny thing to say. So you almost argue that Elo culture ain mevakeh chola. The Gemara says that there's someone who doesn't visit a sick person, ain mevakesh olav rachmim, doesn't daven for him. Lo sheyichiv lo sheyamot. What the Gemara is basically saying is that when a person visits an ill person, he davens for him. This is the third thing. When a person visits a sick person, he's going to daven for him. If he doesn't visit the sick person, he doesn't daven for him. Now, the obvious question is, what do you mean? If I know my friend's sick, I'll daven for him. I don't, even if I don't visit
Why I have
him.
to go
Why
visit
we
him?
live? Yeah. So first thing is that we see that the mitzvah part of this is the third thing in the mitzvah Bikur Cholim that I'm going to bring to. The third thing in the mitzvah Bikur Cholim is that when you visit him, the outcome is that you daven. But that needs explanation. Why only if you visit him are you going to daven him, and if you don't visit him, you're not going to daven? So there's a few explanations.
They have so many Tehillim group for people that are
Right.
sick. Millions
Right,
of them.
exactly. They never visit him. So what's the Gemara? So the Gemara is saying, right?
What about what's Yamas? What's the Yamas?
So it doesn't actually mean Shiyamas. It means to say that they don't daven either way, and he could die as a result of no one davening. So, 1 second.
In other words, they had a chance to save the guy from his sickness, and I didn't do it because I didn't visit him. So
Right.
Trying to save him.
Right. But the question is, what do you mean? A person can daven without visiting him. So there's a few explanations which come out of when one learns the Gemara and when one sees the Mefarshim which discuss this. Number one is that when you visit somebody, you see how bad he is. If you can be far away, when you actually visit him, it makes an impact on you. So you see how not good he is, and therefore you get impressed, so to speak, not in a positive way. It makes an impression on you how bad he is, and therefore you'll make sure to daven for him. However, if you don't, and you just hear your friend or you hear somebody's ill, so it won't be the same thing. That's number one. In fact, there's a halacha which says, the Gemara which actually says later, and this is connected to this. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, this is a halacha that people don't necessarily keep today, and that's a discussion. It's a different discussion, but we see from here the same idea that the purpose of Bikur Cholim is in order to daven. And why? What does it say? It says a person shouldn't visit a person in the first 3 hours of the day, nor in the last 3 hours of the day. Why? Because he won't daven then. Why won't he daven then? So the Gemara says, "Klas shoy kan ma'isa rav kadaite." The first 3 hours of the day, an ill person he's okay compared to how he's much better during those hours of the day, and therefore, a person coming to visiting him won't pay so much attention to daven, or if he does daven, he won't be with the same kavanah. The last 3 hours of the day, a person looks much worse than he is, and a person might give up and not bother davening. So what do we see? Adrab, I know. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
Guys, that's when you actually start going crazy.
some people are like that. Some people are, some people, deep down, someone's deadly ill, and you hear that you daven, but you don't really think your davening is going to do something. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so what do we see from here? That that the visiting the sick person is mamish linked. Part of the halacha of Bikur Cholim is you don't visit a person, that you have to visit him in a time when the visiting will be ma'orer by you, will arouse by you to daven. For sure you can daven when he's not there. But by visiting him, it makes an impression on you, and your davening is going to be with more of a kavanah. That's number one.
The hospital know this halacha.
But we say
That the visiting hours.
meaning doesn't have a measurement of time or
Right.
even 1,000 times a day.
Right. The point is, I guess, that you should make sure to visit him not within those hours. If you're going to visit him once, and the only time you can visit him is the first 3 hours,
Don't do it.
no.
Then Ela schar meaning all the time.
I'm saying like this: if the only time you can possibly visit him in the first 3 hours, and otherwise you won't visit him at all, for sure you should go. Right. What we're saying is a case where you've got a choice, so to speak. You can. I think this is trap. Yeah. You either can visit him in the first 3 hours of the day, or you can visit him in the middle of the day. So then we're telling you, no, visit him in the middle of the day, because then you'll see what is true, how ill he really is, and based on that, you'll make your davening based on that.
Today this doesn't apply necessarily, because inside the hospital everything is regulated.
Right.
So it's like
The Aruch HaShulchan already wrote that in those that he already writes that he's already bothered by this question, and he writes. Whatever. He says, he learns it's not an issa that you should, it's an eitzah ba'alma, it's an advice. That's why we're not so careful now. It's an eitzah, because the purpose of Bikur Cholim is to daven. You have to make sure it's advisable to, like you said, if it doesn't apply, it doesn't apply.
But I'm saying that in the hospital, first of all, the nurses won't allow you to go.
The visiting hours.
When he's not fully awake and everything.
Right.
And the temperature and everything like that is regulated.
Right.
So it doesn't matter to me what time of day it is.
So that answers the question why you have to go.
Hospital has a visiting house. Hospital has a visiting house.
Right, exactly.
But even during visiting hours, if the individual person, if they see he's not to it, they won't let go.
Don't go.
We're not going to apply this to practical hospital hours.
Why not? It's a mitzvah. Always I'm thinking about myself. If I'm sick in the hospital, and who's going to come visit me?
Yeah, we're saying that the part of the 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the evening is not practiced today, and there might be very good reasons for it. But the point that I'm trying to bring out from the Gemara is that you see that the purpose of Bikur Cholim is mamish linked, is strongly linked to the davening, and therefore they said don't visit in a time when you won't daven so well as a result of visiting. And but this answers the original question. We asked the question: why is Bikur Cholim anything to do with davening? We're saying that one of the third element in Bikur Cholim is that when you go visit him, you'll daven, and if you don't visit him, you won't daven. What do you mean if you don't visit him, you won't daven? So it said two things. Number one, that so far I've already said one. Number one is that through visiting him, that's when you see how bad he is, and you daven with more kavanah, knowing how sick he is. That's number one. Number two is it says that this is what you were saying earlier. It says that the Shechina is by the head of the Cholim. And therefore, there's even halachas officially. Yeah, the halachas that you shouldn't sit at the same level as the ill person because the shechina's there. There's halachas even to do with this. There's another halacha.
Who is the tzaddik that?
Yaakov, Yotze.
No. There was a tzaddik that used to daven for Cholim at the Mitzvah, and then he himself gets sick.
Yeah.
So Yisroel says, "You couldn't marape other Cholim. Can't you daven for yourself?" And he said, "The Talmidim have to daven for me. I cannot do it for myself."
So number two is that the Shechina is by the Cholim. So the Shechina is by the Cholim. You're davening. It's like davening with the minyan. Why is davening with the minyan much better than davening b'yichidus?
The Shechina is there.
The Shechina is there. Similarly over here, when you go to Cholim, the Shechina is there. So that's another ma'ila of why your tefillah is going to be more makubal because the Shechina is there. There's another halacha actually that when you daven shaloi b'fnei hachoila, when you daven the choila is not around, you should only daven in lashon hakodesh because the malachim who take your tefillahs don't understand or Other languages, they can't take the tefillas to the Eibishter. But when it comes to if you're in front of the Choyle, you can daven in whatever language you want, and the reason is because of the Shekhinah. So this is another reason why dafka, by going to visit the person, your davening is your davening is a real davening. Because the Shekhinah is there, so it's going to be more likely to be accepted, much more likely to be listened to if you daven by the ill person when you visit him. And the Rishonim, the Ramban, one second, and the Ramban actually writes that you go visit a sick person and you don't ask rachum. This is the main part of the mitzvah. According to the Ramban, you go visit a sick person, you don't daven for him, you haven't been kind of missing, because that's the whole purpose of Bikur Cholim. The whole purpose of Bikur Cholim is that you go there, you see how ill he is, and based on that you daven for him. You daven for him while you're there, because the Shekhinah is there.
First of all, shouldn't the main part of Bikur Cholim means to raise his spirits? Company.
These are all important parts of the thing.
Huh?
Yeah, these are all important parts
Yeah,
of it.
second of all, even if you daven for him, if you daven too hard, that's also no good. It's going to make him think that he's really dead off.
What?
Why?
There's a mitzvah to go to daven with the guy before he died to say with him video.
Okay,
And he's knowing this is his last davening, but it's still a mitzvah.
But the guy's not really far off.
First of all, davening according to Chabad, you don't make out wherever you think. So if you daven very hard, you daven the Klein, he's not going to notice.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
That's fine. You can do it.
No, you bring up a good point, because there is actually halacha. It says there is halacha to do with this. It says that Bikur Cholim. It says hakroivim v'chaverim nichnosim miyam. When it comes to Bikur Cholim, people who are close friends. I don't know if this is exactly what you're saying, but it's on the same lines as what you're saying. The close friends and family members, they can go visit somebody as soon as he becomes ill. Other people shouldn't visit a person as soon as he becomes ill. If someone's not so ill, he's just a little bit ill, and everyone starts pouring to him to visit him, then there's like
There's a rumor that this
and it's to do with mazolis as well. Like he's got now bad mazel that people are now calling him ill. He's not really so ill. He's got a little bit of a flu, but everyone's running around him and everyone's coming to visit him.
I think he's on the way to die.
Right. So therefore, it's not such a good thing. So there is some truth to what you're saying. That this is actually halacha that the people who are close to the family, to the choyle, family members and friends, they're allowed to come in and visit straight away. But rechoikim, people who are further away from mutual acquaintances or further family members who are not so close, they should wait 3 days until to come visit him, so that he shouldn't be called a choyle.
It's like a shiva call.
That's only if he's not so ill. But it says that if he became very, very ill, he came very ill very quickly, for sure everyone can come straight away, because then he is ill. The point is, you don't want to call somebody, label somebody ill when he's not really ill. And you might do so, and one of the ways of doing so is if you visit him. So people who are close family members and friends, they visit him anyway. There's nothing, when a close family member or friend visits somebody, it doesn't mean that he's ill. When other people visit him, then it's unusual. So then it's already it's like associating him as an ill, identifying him as an ill person.
It's like the crutches laying around the house. Just don't use them. Don't make. If you don't need them,
Don't play with it.
Don't try to play with it.
Right. So that is number 2. When I say that's number 2, I mean to say we asked the question, why does the Gemara say that anyone who visits a sick person will daven for him, and someone who doesn't visit him well? So we're saying 2 things. Number 1 is that through visiting him, it impresses on you how bad it is, and you'll daven with the right kavanah. And if you don't visit him, you might daven, but it won't be a proper davening. Number 2, the davening itself will be more makubal because the Shekhinah is there. That's number 2. And number 3 is as follows. So number 3 is a little bit more of a pilpul, a little bit more long-winded. That because really you could let's talk about the Shekhinah for the moment. We're saying that the Shekhinah is in the place of a cholim. You could also daven for a person by the Misha Beirach, where the Sefer Torah is out and there's a minyan. There's also 10 people there. So what's the maila? We're saying over here that there's still actually a maila in still an advantage in davening for the choile in his presence. Why? The Gemara says in Brachas, "Hamispalel ala choile einu tzorich lahazkes shemayim." Someone who davens for an ill person doesn't need to mention his name. Shenema says in the Pasuk, "Keil na refa na Allah." When Moshe Rabbeinu asked for Miriam who had tzaras, he didn't say, "Eibishter send refuah shleima to Miriam." He said, "Keil na Hashem, please refa na Allah, please send her refuah shleima." Right? Moshe Rabbeinu didn't mention the name of Miriam. Right? So that's what the Gemara says in Brachas. However, how does that fit in with what it says in the Zohar? The Zohar says in Parashat Vayishlach that Yaakov asked to be saved from Esav. He said, "Hatzileni no miyad ochi miyad Esav." Right there, it says the person, my brother na Esav, and the Zohar explains because he wanted to be when you daven, you have to be mefarish dvora of korah. You have to explain clearly what you mean. If you just say miyad ochi, my brother, it could mean, sometimes people refer to, at least in Torah language, in biblical Hebrew, for sure, achi, in the Brit today, but achi can refer to a distant member of the family as well. Ki achim anochnu, Avram said to Lot, ki anoshim achim anochnu, we're brothers. So it can mean other members of the family. Therefore, he said, no, not stam achim, yad Esav. I want to be saved from Esav. In other words, there's an idea that when one davens, one has to make sure, one has to be clear exactly who you're davening for and the specifics of your davening. So the Magen Avram, so on the one hand you see that Moshe Rabbeinu asked for Miriam and didn't say her name. On the other hand, when Yaakov was asking to be saved from Esav, he mentioned the name, he was explicit, he explained what he meant. So the Magen Avram says as follows, that when you're davening for somebody in his presence, then you don't have to mention his name. And Moshe was davening in Miriam's presence, in front of Miriam. When he's shaloi b'fanav, so then you do have to mention it. And that's what the Magen Avram writes in Siman Kuf Yotze. Now, that's what it says. Now there's another point. The Rashi in a sefer called Sefer Pardos and other Sfarim actually says that one shouldn't mention the name of an ill person when you daven. Not only do you not need to, but one shouldn't. What's going on in there? So the explanation in the Gemara and Brachas it explains
what we do by Mishabeh.
So it depends. If you're in front of the Choyle, then in front of the Choyle you don't need to mention the name, then you shouldn't.
Because you say Shirah Bet HaChoyle. You don't say his name.
You don't mention the name.
You just say tell him in front of him. You don't even have to say the name at all. If you mamish him, but in his hospital room. If, however, your Choyle is not around, so then you do need to mention his name. But now, and when you don't need to mention his name, then it's actually a problem. In other words, whenever possible, it's better not to mention his name. It's just that when he's not around, then there's a chiyuv to
Yodei Hashem Machshavot Adam. Hashem knows. When you say daily for this guy, even you don't say his name, Hashem knows.
So then why do you need to mention the name?
We're talking about procedure.
That's what I'm saying, you're right.
But Yaakov, and I'm just trying to bring out the other side. Because Yaakov said, "Hatzileni no miyad ochi miyad Esav." Hashem knew who he was talking about.
No, but this was special situation. With Yaakov was a special situation. It's not Stam. He came to kill him.
Hashem knows.
400,000.
Hashem knows. So what the explanation he gives it depends. If the person is if the person you're davening for is in front of you, so then you don't need to mention the name. For sure, Hashem knows, but that's not the point. The point is that there's a way that you're supposed to daven. There's a way you're supposed to daven. If the Choyle is in front of you, so then you don't need to say his name. And if the Choyle is not, then you do need it. Now we're saying that not only do you not need to, if the Choyle is in front of you, you shouldn't. Why? What's the reason? So the Iyon Yaakov, the Gemara in Bracha says, because we know that the name sometimes is what causes, is like the mazel. The name is sometimes what causes a person to be sick. So the Mekubalim write that when you mention the name of the Choyle, it can be Ma'oyer the Midas Adin. This is not Kabbalah. That when the name is like the thing which draws down the person's chayas, the person's mazel, what happens to him comes through his name. And therefore, if you mention his name, you can actually, so to speak, remind the Eibush. You can be Ma'oyer the Midas Adin. So therefore, wherever possible,
Midas Adin, did you say?
Midas Adin, yeah, the Midas Adin, which means the judgment, the element of judgment from Hashem. By mentioning the name of the person.
Why?
Well, he's ill for a reason. Why is he ill? He's ill because he deserves to be ill on some level, right? As far as judgment is concerned, he deserves to be ill. Who deserves to be ill? This guy who's called Cholim. In fact, sometimes when people are ill, they change his name, they add another name, Chaim Rafal, because through changing your name, you change his mazel, now he's a different person, so he no longer deserves this. So that when you daven for a person, it's not a good idea stamazot to mention his name. Because by mentioning his name, you ma'orer the midas adin, you arouse the midas adin, you kind of, so to speak, remind the Eibush that this person actually deserves to be ill. We're trying to ma'orer the fact that, yes, maybe he deserves such and such, but be kind anyway. Hashem, your Moli Rachmim, Kel Moli Rachmim, you should save him anyway.
But all the Tehillim, the groups, thousands and thousands.
They mention the name.
They mention the name.
Because
And they call you, they say, listen, I was sick, and they told me, we're still saying Tehillim for you, or we stop?
So that's the difference. That's what I'm saying. Depends whether the ill person is present or not. When the ill person is present, then there's no need to mention the name. In general, when you daven for someone, you need to mention the name.
Oh, you need?
You need to. Why? I don't know exactly why. But when he's right in front of you, if you're sitting in the hospital room, then you don't need to. And not only do you not need to, then in actual fact, it's actually better not to, because by doing so, you're the ma'or midas adin. So now we can understand the whole mile of Bikur Cholim. Besides the fact that the Shekhinah is there, besides the fact that you'll actually see how ill he is, there's a third reason why by doing Bikur Cholim, by going and visiting the sick person, you daven, the davening is better, because through davening, when you daven in the presence of the Choli, you don't need to mention his name. When you don't mention his name, then you're not ma'or midas adin. So the tefillah is more mekubal. When you don't need to mention his name, the tefillah is more mekubal. And this, the Chasam Sofer actually writes us in the Dorim, in explaining this Gemara. This Gemara that I said, the Gemara says that Kol shenichnas levakis acholim mevakish olav rachim sheyichi. Any person who goes to visit a sick person, davens for him, he should live. So what does it mean? So the Chasam Sofer explains that since he doesn't need to mention his name, and so therefore he doesn't mention his name, the tefillah is more mekubal. However, if you don't go to visit him and you daven him, so then you have to mention his name, and sometimes you could be ma'or the midas din as the mekubalim right. Now,
And what happens if the guy is sick? Not only is not your friend, it's your enemy actually. And you still have a mitzvah to go visit him? Or you're making it worse? Like I don't want to see, it's enough I'm sick, I have to see
The
you
fact
too.
that you're going there means that you feel children in what systems people have to
And the opposite is like, I came to see my friend is suffering. I don't like him.
Don't go there.
So don't go there.
you're both right. You're both right.
You're making a mitzvah or it's worse.
No, you can harm him. If you really mean wrong, then get out. Go do tshuva, go do something with yourself. Don't go to somebody hating you. That's not.
It's both way.
What?
I heard
Both
stories,
ways.
I heard stories about people who were in the hospital
Yeah.
and they threw out people who came to visit.
He's not good. He doesn't want to see you.
No matter how sick he was, he remembered that he'd get that.
To answer your question, Pash, from the Ramah and the Shulchan Aruch writes, Yesh Oimrim, some people say, the Soine Yachal Leilach Levakach Cholim, an enemy can go and visit an ill person. Says Ramah, that's Yesh Oimrim, V'lo Nira Li. I don't think so. Ela Lo Yevakach Cholim, V'lo Yenachem. You shouldn't have a Mishu Soine, someone who's enemy. Lo Yenachem Avel, sorry, Mishu Soine. You shouldn't visit a sick person, nor be Menachem Avel if you're his enemy. Shelo Yachshiv Shesamach Le'edav Einu Eletzam. Not. The Soina could actually mean well. The problem is that the ill person will think to himself, he's coming to.
I come to see me.
Yeah,
My situation.
And so the Shach actually writes, it depends obviously how much the hatred is. A person just, some people literally really hate each other. Then if someone just has some sort of fight, small thing, then he's not going to think that. Okay, that's a side. And going back to our original question, which we started off this year, which was the issue of, can someone be mevakach chola through the telephone? So the answer to the question really is yes and no. Meaning you cannot be mekayim the mitzvah bishlei musa, because there's a whole bunch of things we mentioned bikur cholim which are not going to be able to be done fully.
If you're not there.
Because number one, let's go backwards. The thing we just mentioned now about davening, for sure, davening, we said that when you actually see the person, you are going to be
You
more.
don't say his name.
So, it's two things. First of all, if you're not in his presence, you can't mention his name. That's a problem. Even if you, and another thing is that you don't see him through the telephone. Let's say. Now that would be a difference between a telephone and a video. Video would be better. If you could do a Bikur Cholim through video conference, whatever it is, through some sort of Skype or
It's like if you're there.
then it's not mamish like you're there. I don't think it's considered like you're there with regards to mentioning the name, and it's also you can't. It's not, but it's better because you can.
You feel removed no matter what. You don't feel.
You feel removed. True. You feel
You
removed.
feel the presence.
It's not the same, but
No, you don't feel like somebody's really ill.
Right.
No. But going back to what I'm saying is that let's say phone or video chat, for sure, the best thing to do is for sure to visit the person. If you don't actually see him, then you're not going to be able to do davening in the full sense. Both because you're going to have to mention his name, the Shekhinah is not there, even with your video chat, the Shekhinah is not there. And through visiting him, you get, if you're just on the telephone, through visiting him, you're not going to see how...
You don't take one of the 60 also.
You don't take away the 60th, and all these different things. But on the other hand, you do to a little bit, to a degree, you do all these things because one of the things we said is that you find out what he needs.
So you could
help him through the phone. You call him up, you say, "What do you need? What can I get you?" And things like that. In the Gemara, actually, there's another halacha which says that Cholim mi'ayim, someone who's got a stomach, someone who's
constantly going to the bathroom.
Constantly to the bathroom. You shouldn't visit him because he's embarrassed.
Right.
But the halacha still doesn't say, oh, since you can't visit him, don't do it at all. The halacha says that you have to go into the outer room, like you go into the, and you find out what he needs, and you find out how he's doing, and you mavakesh rachamim.
He shouldn't be embarrassed. You do it in a way that he should not feel embarrassed.
So what do we see as follows? So I think the bottom line is like this. If you can visit a person in person, for sure you should do that. But let's say you can't, or let's say you visited him in person and now you can't go again, then for sure by calling him on the telephone and by video would be even better for sure than phone call, right? Would be a step up. Then at least you'll be able to do some of the elements of Bikur Cholim. You'll be able to ask him what he needs. You'll be able to get some sort of idea of how he's feeling, more than if you wouldn't call him up and just hearing that he's not feeling well, and you could daven for him. So to be Mekayim the Mitzvah b'Shleimus, for sure that you need to be actually to see him in person. But if that's not possible, then it's no different than a Cholim me'ayim. The halacha says that someone who's got a stomach bug and he's going to the bathroom often, you don't visit him not to embarrass him. So you can't do Bikur Cholim in the true sense of the word. Nevertheless, we say you go on the outside, you go into an outside room and you send someone in and you ask him what he needs and you hear how he's doing and you daven and you do whatever you can do. So we'll stop over here.